Hi everyone, in this lecture we will talk about function parameters and arguments. So let's create here a new Python file and I'll name it and hit enter. And here is our new Python file, and before I actually start coding, let me explain the concept with the help of examples. So we have talked about length functions and type function and print functions. All of them are built-in functions of Python and allow us to perform a specific task in Python. So let's suppose if I type here a is equals to 1 2 3, and if I write here print length of a, and if I run it, as you can see here we got 3, the length of a. So basically this length function is designed in such a way that it takes an argument and there is a receiver in the backend of this length function which receives this argument, and after processing the data it returns the answer, which is 3 in our case because we have 3 data objects in our list. But what if I pass something to this function which we have written in the previous lecture? So let's pass here ELLO. Okay, let's save it. Let's run it. And we got error, that is function name takes 0 positional arguments but 1 was given. So here as you can see in these parentheses we have not defined any kind of receiver or parameter that will receive this argument. For the first time it might be confusing, so let me explain it. Here let me import a new library with the name inspect. Okay, so whatever I'll do now is optional, totally optional. If you don't understand it, don't worry, because I just want to give you a feel of how Python is working in the backend. And again, this inspect library is totally optional and you even don't need to consider it. Okay, I'm just giving you the feel of how Python is behaving. So here after importing inspect, let me write here inspect dot signature and just type here the function which is length, and let's run it. And here as you can see in the terminal we got our output object. This means that this length function is designed in such a way that it can take an object as an argument, and that's why it is giving me here this object. But if I apply the same concept right here on our this function, what are you expecting? So let me copy it, let me paste it right here, and just copy the same line, copy, and just type here paste, and instead of length let's pass here our function. Let's save it, let's run it. Oops, let me remove this argument for now. Let's save it and let's run it back. And here we got empty tuple because this function is not receiving any kind of argument. So I hope that now you have got an idea about arguments and parameters. Now let's discuss them in detail. So just remove this line and just remove this import inspect. Let's save it back, and I think let me copy these 4 lines. Oops, copy them and paste them right here. Now paste them. Okay, so first of all, inside this function we need a receiver that will receive the arguments which we will pass right here. So just type here any kind of variable name. For example, I'll go with a, and now if I pass something like hello, we will not get any kind of error. So just delete this and let's create a new terminal, and we got no error. So let me debug it. Let me put some breakpoints. Okay, and now let's debug Python file. And you need to focus on this side as well as on this variable section. So here as you can see currently we don't have any kind of variable, and Python is on this first line which is def function. So let me move to this next step. The Python interpreter will skip the body because we have defined a function right here but we are not calling it. and then it will jump directly to this print hello world. And now if I hover on this variable a, as you can see, Visual Studio Code is not showing me the value of this variable a, because we have not passed any kind of value to this function. And now let me click on this button again, and now the Python interpreter will understand that okay, I need to call this function underscore name. And now if I click on this, here, as you can see in the local variable section, we got a variable with the name a and its value is hello. And now if I hover on this a, as you can see, Visual Studio Code is telling me that this variable contains hello, because we have passed hello right here to this function, and after calling this function, Python has assigned hello to this variable. And now if I click again, our program has been terminated and we got our hello world and hi function. So this is how this whole function works. So let me explain it in simple words again. We are simply defining our variable right here in the function definition, but we are assigning value to this variable in the function calling portion. And for example, if I remove this receiver from here, and now if I debug it, so first of all, Python will detect that it's a function, and it will move to this step and it will move to this step. Okay, so Python has understood, okay, we need to call this function and this is the argument of this function. But how Python will behave if I move to the next step? And we got an error, and that is function name takes 0 positional arguments. So here we have not defined any kind of receiver, any kind of parameter, but here we are passing an argument to this function, and that's why we are getting here this positional argument error. And again, if I type here a, let's save it, let's click on this, let's run it back, we will not get any kind of error. So I hope that you have understood how parameters and arguments work. So in the next lecture, we will talk about the difference between parameters and arguments. So don't worry if you don't understand why I'm calling this part an argument and this a parameter. And now you can actually print this parameter as well. So if I type here print and then a, so let's run it back, and we got hello world. And after printing this hello world, the interpreter will shift to the body of this function and it will print this hi im function, and then the value of this variable a, which is hello world here, as you can see. So let's pass another value, something like 1 2 3. Now we will get 1 2 3. So let's run it, and we got 1 2 3. So let me make it little bit exciting. So for example, let me remove this print function, and here instead of printing hi im function, I'll say hi, and then put these parentheses, just pass variable a, and let's tell the Python interpreter that it's a formatted string. And instead of passing here 1 2 3, let's pass here the name, which is Umair. Okay, so let's save it, let's run it, and we got hi Umairs. Let me make it more exciting. I'll get the input from the user. So just remove this print, and here I'll say name is equals to, and just type here, and after entering the name, instead of passing a string, I'll pass the variable name here. So just type here name, let's save it, let's run it, and enter your name. So let's pass here Umair, hit enter, and we got hi Umair. So you can actually pass a variable right here as well. So this variable will be replaced with the string which user will enter right here, and that string will be received in this variable a, and this variable a will be replaced with that string, which is Umair in our case. So I hope that you have understood how parameters and arguments work, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Bye bye.